Ayubowan, Vanakkam. I'm Vioni Dimel. This is Boston Lanka News, bringing you news, views and entertainment from Boston and USA. Is there a widespread of support for the transnational government of Tamil Eelam? Professor Ratnajeevan Hool shares his views. Why there is a need for a reconciliation commission in Sri Lanka? Dr. Karunaratna Hangawatha responds. According to the media reports, the transnational government of Tamil Eelam had their inaugural sessions in Philadelphia from May 17th to May 19th. The Sri Lankan government, meanwhile, has urged foreign governments, including USA, not to support moves by the supporters of the LTTE to create a government in exile in support of a Tamil Eelam. Boston Lanka contacted Professor Ratnajeevan Hool, professor at Polytechnic Institute in Hartford, Connecticut, to discuss about transnational government. Professor Hool was appointed by President Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Jaffna in March 2006. However, he was compelled to take special leave and leave Sri Lanka due to the threats to his life by local paramilitary groups believed to have had links to the liberation tigers of Tamil Eelam. Professor Hool, as you may know, the transnational government of Tamil Eelam held its first meeting in Philadelphia. Do you think there is a widespread support for the transnational government from the Tamil diaspora?
From the Tamil diaspora, maybe yes. In the sense you have to understand who the diaspora are. We are people brought up in Sri Lanka, living in America. Children are going their own ways. They will soon not be Tamil. And we need some activities, and this is a way for them to be engaged and have some kind of social activity. But otherwise, it really has no political meaning, because as Bismarck said, Otto von Bismarck in 1867, politics is the art of the possible. And they are not talking about anything that is possible. As Dr. Naysaya remarked, most of our proposals are non-starters. Whatever we propose, whatever we wish to engage in, must have even a small chance of being successful. And to engage the state, we must propose things that are reasonable. And the state also must respond. And the state must remember that we are Tamils, we want to be Tamils, and we want some form of decision making in our lives. And the 13th Amendment is something the government can look at. And just look at what the people in Sri Lanka want. All the Eelam crowd has been completely defeated at the recent poll. People like Gajendran, they hardly got 500 votes. But in previous elections, they got the highest preference vote. Obviously, at that time, the elections were rigged. This time, with free elections, they were completely wiped out. So what is relevant is what the Tamil people in Sri Lanka want. And I think what the Tamil people in Sri Lanka want is some measure of self-governance, some say in their own affairs. And we don't, no offense to the Sinhalese, but we don't want to be Sinhalese. We are Tamils, we have our culture, and within that culture, Tamil Christians like me want to be Tamil Christians. And the state must facilitate that and must never challenge who we are. They must encourage us to celebrate our culture, as the Sinhalese must celebrate theirs.
Thank you, Professor Hool. Many international organizations and some Sri Lankan activists have expressed doubts over the effectiveness of the Reconciliation Commission appointed by President Mahinda Rajapaksa on May 17th, which will investigate events in the final years of the civil war in Sri Lanka that ended a year ago. Dr. Karunaratna Hangawatha, currently a professor of criminal justice in the University of Nevada in Las Vegas, has been appointed as one of the 8 commissioners by the President. Dr. Hangawatha has done extensive research on global terrorism and was one of the experts who worked on the United Nations Declaration on the Victims of Crime and Abuse of Power and Violation of Human Rights, which covered the Cold War era. We spoke to Dr. Hangavatta to find out his views about the Reconciliation Commission. Dr. Hangavatta, some critics say that this commission was appointed just to buy time to stop UN coming up with their own commission, and most of all, this commission has no mandate to prosecute and punish any violators and can only make recommendations. Is that true?
One thing actually, if it is just a sham, I for one, I can only talk for myself. I would not have even agreed to serve. I have had other opportunities to do things, but even this time, my position is that I don't want to just waste my time on something that is inconsequential. So I am of the based on what I have heard and the interactions I have had. I am of the view that this commission hopefully will be one of consequence. And having said that, about the lack of ability to prosecute and punish, if one goes back, the whole idea of this type of commission is to do away with that whole notion of prosecution and punishment. That is why even the name, the reconciliation. If you go back, South African Commission on Reconciliation had no authority to prosecute or punish, because that's very important. Culturally, socially, historically, we have a certain experience. We have a cultural experience in our countries. I'm not talking about only Sri Lanka, whether it's Sri Lanka, India, and we have a long history and a tradition of a certain type of justice. Our traditions are not into punitive justice. This is why the adversary system of justice has become so alien. For example, even to Sri Lanka, many ordinary Sri Lankans. And historically, we resolve our conflicts more through communication, negotiation, and through various informal processes of mediation, self-help measures, and which usually foster community integration. According to even social research, there's so much social research done on in the area of law and society that show that type of justice fosters social integration, community harmony, unlike the adversary system of justice, which usually fail to reduce tension and antagonism. So this, I think, is very important for the Westerners to understand. And so I am very much into resolving disputes through restorative justice rather than punitive justice, because punitive justice leads to more tension. Right now in Sri Lanka, what we need is not more tension, not more division, not to just catch and put people in prison and still then, because the divisions, the antagonisms, the suspicions will continue and they don't go away. And what that will do is it will foster a culture of suspicion, culture of hatred. I think we have to somehow create a culture of participation, recognizing each other, and so on and so forth. Unity, in other words.
Thank you, Dr. Hangavatta. That concludes our news edition this week. We meet you next week with another news edition of news, views, and entertainment from Boston and USA. Till then, goodbye.